Okay, so today the mission is, I guess, this will be the last day that we plan to spend on the 2 exceptions to the Deios rule. Okay, I think that's a good,
We can plan.
yes, we can plan.
Yeah.
Do we, I guess the responsible thing would be to reread it again, right? The 2 exceptions. All right, so let's do that. So we're on Gimel 1, right, on page 121. V'yesh Deos she'asar lo la'anam linhog bahen bebeinos ella yisrachu adakater acher. In fact, you know what? I'm just going to read it in English, okay? There are traits which it is prohibited for a person to conduct himself in the middle path, rather he should distance himself to the extreme. And they are haughtiness of the heart, for it is not the good path that a person should be humble alone, but that he should be low-spirited, and that his spirit should be very low. Therefore, it was said of Moshe Rabbeinu, very humble, and it does not say humble alone. And therefore, the sages commanded us be very, very low-spirited. And they also said anyone who makes his heart haughty has denied the fundamental, meaning denied God's existence, as it is stated, and your heart will become haughty and you'll forget Hashem, your God. Furthermore, they said someone will be excommunicated, anyone who has in him haughtiness of spirit, even a little bit. Likewise, anger is a very bad quality, a very, very bad very bad data. And it is proper for a person to distance himself from it to the opposite extreme. And he should train himself to not get angry, even on something that is fit to get angry on. And if he wants to instill trepidation into his children and his members of his household or on the congregation, if he is their leader, and he wants to get angry at them, he wants to anger at them in order to get them to return to the good, he should act in front of them as though he is angry in order to discipline them. And his mind should be settled privately, meaning inside, like a person who acts like a man at the time of his anger, but he is not angry. The early sages said, anyone who gets angry is as if he worshipped Avodah Zarah. And they said, anyone who gets angry, if he is wise, his wisdom will depart from him. And if he is a Navi, his Nevuah will depart from him. Wrathful people, their lives are not lives. Therefore, they commanded to distance from anger until, or to the extent that a person should conduct himself to not sense even things that are provocative, even the things that are angering. And this is the good path. It is the way of the tzaddikim to be that they are insulted, but they don't insult back. They listen to their disgrace, but they don't respond. They act out of love and rejoice in afflictions. Regarding them, it is said, and his loved ones will be like the emergence of the sun in its might.
Did we explain that last time?
No. I think the sun, when it emerges, is pretty powerful. Yeah, like.
And they are powerful.
We didn't explain it beyond that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't theorize.
Okay.
Okay, so our questions, right, are what makes these two different? And through the fact that these two are different, what is the general rule? And what are the particular statements that the Rambam makes? Now, the thing I saw while I was waiting is this footnote, which I think might have something to it. Look on the left for Gimel 1, Gova Halev, that's Gaiva. Nire, you see it? Yeah. On page 121? Nir Shahamadubar Bahalacha Zo Bagava B'machshavas Ha'adam. Sounds like this is speaking about Gava in a person's thoughts. L'umas ha'halacha ha'kodemes. In contrast to the previous halacha, ha'osekas b'bituya ha'chitzoni shel ha'gava, which is talking about the external expression of Gava. So that was the one that I kept on asking this question of, if you're supposed to be shval ruach, does that mean that you should put on these degrading garments, to distance yourself from and sit below everyone, So, and that was a contradiction, but which didn't sit well with me. It didn't sound like the Rambam saying you should act in overtly degrading ways. But this footnote is theorizing we're talking about two different things. I guess what we would call ego is in the is in Gimel 1, and then I don't know, we have a word for haughty actions or arrogant demeanor. I don't know what you would call it. It's not like demeanor, it's more than that.
Okay. So and that would be
the one that it was talking about in the previous one.
Yeah.
And then he goes on and he says, Vagava kan hi tefushat kavod dimyonis. It is a sense of imaginary glory, klapi hazulas, uklapi atmo, regarding others and regarding oneself. I think that's a good description. Which prevents a person from fixing his ways, because he doesn't recognize his deficiencies. Did you both cough when you said that?
No,
No.
I
Okay.
don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And the difference that we're saying between the two is the ego is like just like a feeling, and then the other one is like actually acting egotistical.
Yeah. Yeah. And the nafkamina is for the acting egotistically, you would want to get to the middle path, which is humility, meaning humble, like carrying yourself in a humble manner, meaning you would not want to stay at the extreme of wearing rags, and like allowing yourself to be spit on, like that would just be if you have a holy nefesh where you are nohig in extreme kavod, so that explains also the Rambam's first halacha in the first perek when he gave haughtiness as an example. That's talking about your behavior, but this is talking about internal gava. And that one you should go all the way to the extreme and stay there.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a good resolution.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Also, like where he was saying, like in the first paragraph about it, that you shouldn't be wrathful, and you shouldn't be like a mace that doesn't feel.
Yeah.
I guess it also makes sense.
So we're gonna try to pull a similar move for the anger one. Is that what you're trying to do? We can do that. I just want to make sure that that's what we're doing.
Oh yeah.
So just to make sure we get the question.
I didn't think that was a step. I thought that was like what he was saying, like for both of them.
Oh, I think this is only commenting on Gava, and I haven't seen what he says on anger. But just to lay the groundwork, we had this similar problem with anger because he gave us his first example of anger, wrathful and unfeeling, and then seemingly being in the middle is the good thing, where you should only get angry on things that you're worth to get angry upon, or worth to get angry about. And then here he's saying you should never actually feel anger. Okay.
Right, so we're saying the same thing.
So now go ahead. You can say the same thing. I just wanted to set that up.
Oh, yeah. That you shouldn't like not care if someone like punches you in the face or something.
Not care or not act.
Sorry, I meant.
Yes, I know you meant act. Yeah.
Act in an uncharacter. You shouldn't not react.
Right. You should not react. Right.
You should not react if a person like punches you in the face or something.
Yeah.
And then you're like basically saying that you feel it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Instead, you should punch his arm out of the way, because, but not punch his arm in a feeling of wrath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be calm.
Calm.
Wait,
Like water. Yeah.
Wait, but so is the middle? You want to be in the middle? It's just funny that he's like switching between like internal and then.
Yes. Yeah. That's the cost of this answer.
Yeah.
We have to give up everything. No, no. The cost is that we have made perek aleph entirely about behavior.
Yeah.
That is a bet. That's not the cost. That's like now that's a more streamlined system. But then these exceptions have to do with the inner world, which the fact that he like suddenly introduced the inner world without really giving us a warning seems to be switching systems. But maybe you can say that this is only about the sickness of the soul. I don't know.
Well, in Dog 1, the one right before where he says Keita and gives examples.
In perek aleph.
Perek aleph.
Yeah.
There's Hadera Chayeshar, like he made a bit before the day. We were positing the derech is action.
Yeah.
Anything you don't do wrathful actions, that you don't do unfeeling actions.
Right. Right.
Right. Also, if we
Oh,
don't,
sorry, you were going to say something.
No.
Oh.
I mean, I might have that.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Yeah.
And that's also why he gives the.
No, go ahead. You go now. Yeah.
I think I forgot now. No. If we don't say that this is talking about the internal world, then we still would seem like it's a clear contradiction, because he just said before that like you should go to the middle, and now he's saying, but for these two things that I just said
Right.
before,
So
go to the extreme.
our original answer, which I think was on the first day, which you might not have heard, was that he was giving those as examples that he was going to later on undermine, but because they're simple to understand examples where there's a clear good and bad. But the cost of that is then saying that he has to like retract, and this is avoiding that. So that's what this is a better answer. Yeah.
I think the one that he uses in Dעות too works well with saying its actions, because he says you should only get mad. You should only be like mad about things that are worried to be mad about.
Today,
that-
Shelo
yeah.
Ye'aseh Kiyotah Bo Pa'am Acheres,
Yeah.
right? In order that they don't do this again in the
Yeah,
future,
which-
right? So you clearly he's
Yeah.
expressing it,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
right?
And it's hard to say that that's about like the feeling that the person has,
Right.
because saying how you should have a certain feeling for a person
Right.
is like
Yeah, having internal feelings doesn't actually affect people's behavior,
yeah.
as I learned from conferences with my parts. yeah.
Is there a footnote on anger also?
Yes, let's look at that now. Let me flip to the right page.
Because definitely this first footnote about haughtiness seems to be talking about like your internal feeling.
Oh, that's explicitly what it's talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But let's read the intervening one about Me'od Me'od Havishval Ruach, just to see what he says there on Gimel 1. In Hagavana Lechoser Bitachon Ba'atzmi. This is not talking about a lack of like security in oneself, meaning, or like self-esteem, I guess we would call it. She'ino ela ha'aracha lo nechona shel kochosa, which is just a bad arrangement of your faculties. I don't know what it is. Ela shetihi lo ha'aracha atzmis amitis shel kochosa l'ma'amado mul Hashem yis'aleh yisbarach v'shihei nifna b'chol eis la'emes. Okay, I mean, that's kind of what I was saying originally about humility, which is an accurate understanding of yourself vis-a-vis God and vis-a-vis like objective reality. I mean, that's literally what he's saying just in modern Hebrew terms, but I think it's the same idea. And again, this resolves that also, because we were bothered before. If anav means an objective realization of yourself, then how can you have anav as a middle?
Yeah.
But now we're saying that the anav that is the middle path is really about how you behave. That you should not be excessively like self-aggrandizing in your behavior, and you should also not be overly degrading in your own behavior. Yeah.
And we're not saying okay. For a second there, I thought you were saying that like that the internal and the actions were on the same axis.
Right. So I think not.
Not
Right. I think we're saying that there's two things: is what behavior is this? And there's anav behavior, and that's the middle path, and that's what you're going for. And then there's shval ruach behavior, which you should only go for if you are trying to counteract gaiva behavior.
Because it's only an internal thing. The being on the opposite extreme, the good of being on the opposite extreme is an internal thing.
Yes, the good of being shval ruach is an internal thing,
Yeah.
and that's
Can we explain that?
yeah. Meaning. So in perek aleph, when he was giving the example, he said you shouldn't be gova lev, and you shouldn't be shval ruach, but you should be an anav.
Mhm.
So now what we're saying is that's all in terms of behavior.
Mhm.
You shouldn't
Okay.
be calling attention and like having trumpeters going around announcing your entrance. And you also shouldn't be letting yourself get urinated on in a boat.
Right.
Which is the example. Yeah. Or wearing like rags.
Mhm.
But you should behave in a way that is anav, which is a middle path. Okay.
Okay.
Then there's the internal world. And in the internal world, then low-spirited means recognizing what you truly are
Mhm.
and realizing what your real place in reality is, which is going to be nothing.
Oh, so that's
pretty
what
much.
you mean by the extreme is good.
There, the extreme is good.
There, the
That's what you're
extreme
saying, right? There,
is
the extreme is good. Yeah,
Okay. got
yeah, and you can have a consistent thing where you are on that extreme internally, but your actions aren't
Right.
actions of an anav.
How is that? I mean, is that possible? Does the internal doesn't the internal affect your actions?
That's a valid question.
Like I guess I always thought that they had to be lined up.
Yeah, I mean, intuitively, I think we should hook onto this intuitive foothold of the fact that I don't think that. I mean, again, maybe this is not even an idea, but like, I don't think we idealize wearing rags in Judaism.
Yeah.
So like, apparently, like I'm confident that the truth is what I said. The question is like understanding it, right? Yeah.
But I think the distinction is not a crazy one, because I think the second perek is obviously talking about the internal, with like the Julian.
Yes. Yeah.
So it could be that was the introduction. To
Yeah.
the internal world.
Right. Yeah. But what's interesting is still like I feel like there was not that explicit of a introduction of this principle. Like really, what the Chachamim are doing then. Well, okay. Does this change what the Chachamim are doing when you have a sickness of the soul?
Mhm.
Like, because we were explaining that behaviorally.
Right.
But according to what we're saying now, if like let's put it this way, anger and haughtiness our internal anger and haughtiness are definitely sicknesses of the soul to the greatest degree, right? So if we're saying that that's sicknesses of the soul, and maybe that's what the idea of sicknesses of the soul is, then when he gives the remedy that the Chachamim should do, where they teach you the opposite extreme behaviors, are they also working with your internal world? We said that that's possible because it's the most efficient way to change your behavior.
Yeah.
But is he saying here, let's put it this way, even the Rambam, I think, would say that this requires some internal work. Is that crazy?
No, I just had a thought.
Oh yeah, no, go ahead.
Is it possible that like what he means by chulei nefesh is the internal going to one side, like that's the internal being in it, and it is a chulei nefesh.
So then
but
what?
It's just a behavioral thing. That's not a chulei nefesh. That's just
right. So what is going on then in the normal case where you're stuck in an extreme dea that's not a chulei nefesh? Like what is the difference internally between that and a chulei nefesh? Is it your view of the good, like we were saying?
Wait, say.
What's the difference between someone in perek Aleph who has an extreme dea from upbringing or from her happenstance or whatever,
right?
But is not sick,
right?
Versus a person in the second perek who is sick and has an extreme.
Right. They don't. Right. I mean, they just. I mean, I don't. Yeah, I don't know exactly what it is, but they're acting.
I feel like there should be a difference.
Yeah, I think there has to be a difference. Otherwise, if it's the same, then why are they different? Like, I mean, why are they like written
right?
Like,
right.
Yeah, well, we've definitely proven that there is a difference.
Yeah,
but
I think the value thing that they value this as good.
Yeah, that they call the good bad and the bad good.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have that, then it's nothing more than a behavioral thing.
Right.
You might like, I want to eat chocolate cake and I like chocolate cake.
Yeah.
But it's not helpful to look at that as a cognitive problem.
Right.
That's
So this is the fundamental distinction, or this parallels. I won't say it is the same distinction about when we had a Q&A outside a long time ago with Rabbi Moskowitz saying when should you go get psychological, like go to a specialist, and so he was distinguishing between like Mishlei will deal with like a Mishlei solution to things, which is it's not a behaviorist method, but it is a like habit and an action reforming, action-oriented thing. Like with Mishlei, you're primarily not working on inside. I mean, to a certain extent, you're working on how you like think about things, but you're not going like deep down.
But you are working with the C in CBT.
Yeah, you're working with the C, right? Yeah. But with a chulei nefesh, you really think that the good is bad. It's not the clean distinction. I guess the reason why I was bringing it up is like in terms of there are two methods.
Yeah.
There are two methods, and like you can have the same symptoms, but different causes. That's all I'm saying. I'm not even saying it's the same distinction. That the symptoms being you have a guy who is stuck on an extreme day of haughtiness, but he's not sick. Right.
That's just how he's knowing.
That's just how he's knowing. Like, for example, like hold on just 1 second. Oh, no. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I know this could be clearer, but I'm liking this distinction.
So we're still saying you can have a character trait that's producing behavior, but it's in the first part, do we have a character trait that's producing behavior thing not attached to it, but the second part.
You're not attached to it in terms of a view of the good.
Yes.
Like here's a simple example, right? Like I think that we like are used to having air conditioning and running water, and if we didn't, we would feel like we're lacking, or electricity or something like that, Like, does that mean that we have sicknesses of the soul, or does it just mean that behaviorally, in terms of our standards of comfort, then we're attached to certain like standards of living, And I think the mistake is like this: is we still are very attached, but curing it is not a matter of like correcting according to the Rambam, it's not a matter of correcting our value system. It's a matter of conditioning ourselves to get used to stuff like this. It's the opposite. Like again, like when I in the old YouTube building, it wasn't very nice, and I grew up in in Yakima. Then we were wealthy, and like I was not used to living in squalor, and you live in squalor for a while, and then you get used to it, and then you're comfortable in other places, and your clothes become ragged because there are nails sticking out of everywhere in the door, and they tear all your clothing, Yeah. That happened, yeah. You couldn't rub against the walls, even by accident, because then you get your. I had many an article of clothing torn by the old walls.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So again, I'm trying to be clear that this is we're trying to figure out what the Rambam is saying.
Yeah.
This is definitely not the only way to think about it. This is not even the way I think of it. But like I do think along the lines of what it sounded like you were bothered by is that there is a much more cognitive component even in the perek aleph type disorders, but
they're not sicknesses of the
they're not sicknesses of the soul. Yeah, like, I think my view is it's almost a quantitative difference between perek aleph and perek beis, sicknesses of the soul, and just things you're attached to. Whereas the Rambam seems to be differentiating because it's different methods and different, criteria.
So what are the Chachamim telling you to do?
So I don't think he's going into that. I mean, the thing he is going to is they do. He holds that the cognitive thing does have to be addressed through behavior change. But let's say like here's a perfect example of this. Okay, apparently the Chachamim are going to tell you that anyone who is haughty is kafir be'ikr. That's not changing your behavior. That's getting an idea across about haughtiness. And about how a metaphysical distortion that is involved when you have, or when they talk about the anger thing, anyone who's angry, their lives are not lives. Their chachma departs. That's way beyond what he said in perek beis halacha, in Aleph 2. Shemalamdim v'yirapu cholim b'Deios shemalamdim osam. Right? We thought, like that sounded like he just teaches them good Deios in terms of behavior.
Right.
But this is beyond behavior.
Yes.
Wait, so that's
for the sicknesses of the soul, you have to go beyond behavior. For just extreme Deios, you can just do it behaviorally.
right.
That's what.
That's like showing us that it's quantitative, or I guess it's not really showing quantitative or qualitative.
I think it's showing us that it's qualitative.
According to the Rambam.
According to the Rambam, yeah, I would say it's quantitative for me. I think, but.
And why is it qualitative according to the Rambam?
Because he's saying that you need the well, so there's two ways. We thought it was qualitative initially because you need the chachamim. But then we were wondering, well, maybe that's just because identifying the right behaviors is hard.
Right.
But then now we're seeing from these exceptions from Gava and Tas that you're not just they're identifying actions. You're showing them underlying psychology and cognitive ways, distortions that are involved in making you attached to these data.
But only with the sickness of the soul, not with the behavior.
Yeah, right. And it's also not to say that you couldn't use cognitive things for perek aleph. You could. Maybe those would help you.
But maybe it's not necessary in the same way that it's necessary here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Meaning, let's say, like Chazal have a lot of stuff about midos, and like I don't think the Rambam would just throw that all away.
Right.
Nor would you say that that's only for people who are sick. Like,
Like in perek beis, you could go to the opposite of the behavior, but if you still feel that way internally, it's not going to help you. Like
exactly,
even when you then stop doing the opposite extreme and try to do the middle path, you're just right away going to go back to the other extreme because nothing changed.
Yeah, you've only dealt with the symptoms.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, this is clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's this footnote guy, by the way?
Don't know. It might be a team.
Yeah.
I'll have to check. I keep on, I always am inclined to say it's the Amr and Rambam's guy was Mr. Maimon, right?
Right.
That was easy to remember. So I think all footnote people are Mr. Maimon now, but yeah, I don't know who it is. And it's weird. Like I feel like sometimes track record, sometimes has been very good. Sometimes it's been like, okay, this is clearly his shot, and like I don't agree with
This is a good shot.
This is a good shot. All right. So, but let's not read a shot on his shot on kafir be'ikr. Let's try to think of it first, and then we'll read it, and then we'll eventually get to the anger thing. Yeah. You need patience in order to get the anger. Yeah.
Patience leads to anger.
Okay, so kafir be'ikr. I feel like this is an intuitive idea.
So in the behaviors.
No, we're in the internal world now.
That's right.
Yeah.
Why is it? Why are you denying God if you?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I know.
Yeah.
I think we've said it in Tehillim.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can think. I didn't mean to say I was going to say that. Yeah.
Because like you think like you control your existence, or like you're the center of the universe and things revolve around you, and you are in control of it, and not God, so you're not God.
So maybe what we need to do then is define haughtiness a little clearer, because I see that as one aspect of haughtiness, and I see another aspect, and I don't know which one's primary. Because there's one aspect of haughtiness is thinking that things revolve around you, either passively or actively, like either you can control reality or reality has to beckon to you.
Right.
And then the other aspect is thinking that you are great.
What's that?
So the question is, which one's the chicken and which one's the egg? Meaning that, do you think, meaning is the underlying, is the root of haughtiness the feeling that I am great and therefore reality should revolve around me and go the way I want? Or is it that is the underlying assumption reality revolves around me and therefore by definition I'm great because I'm the center of the universe? I don't know if it matters, but what?
What is great?
So humble to ask that. I don't think it is so according to the way I'm setting it up.
Yeah.
Either greatness means that everything beckons to my will,
Right.
or the greatness is defined.
Is something else.
But it's like a
Like, right? Does it always is like the greatness? My greatness causes like necessitates that everything should revolve around.
right.
Or is my greatness the fact that everything revolves
Yeah,
around?
right, exactly. Yeah. And I don't know if it matters, but I think that's a good definition. So now, why is that called Baker? I think you could say what you're going to say, but I just have it set up in my mind now.
Right. Wait, before I say that, so we're not talking about anger right now.
Yeah. Well, ostensibly, we're not talking about anger, but like I said last week, I think that that haughtiness underlies anger.
Does
But-
anger underlie haughtiness?
No. I think anger stems from haughtiness.
Mhm.
And anger will, yeah, and therefore anger will be a manifestation of haughtiness. But I think haughtiness is the primary thing.
This is where expression comes in.
Oh, expression came in way long ago. Expression just came in with the difference between expressing haughtiness versus feeling haughtiness.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah, because he used the word bitui. Bitui is the Hebrew for express. Yeah. But go ahead, project Swarrows onto me. I'm not going to complain. Yeah, I should be like like one of those gurus who doesn't say anything and just everyone just projects, or psychoanalyst. Yeah.
Right. So the point is, it's called Baker because you are denying God by saying that you're the one who's in control of everything and making all the decisions.
Right. There's only one being that is the center of reality, and that's like God is, everything is dependent on God, and God is not dependent on anything, and nothing can affect God. And that's one answer. So if you feel like you occupy that place, then that's a fundamental distortion. Because really, essentially, what you're doing is you are going to end up, whether consciously or unconsciously, feeling that God is the servant of you.
Right. If you're the independent existence.
If you're the independent existence, yeah.
You must be independent.
Right. And the other aspect of it is if your haughtiness expresses itself in particulars, like I think I am great because I can play basketball, or because I can sing, or because I can learn, So the cause of that greatness, this goes back to the Meiri on Mishle Monday, not Dylan. We were doing 2 Meiris that day. It was very confusing. Or no, we were doing 3 Meiris that day. Yeah, we were doing 3 Meiris that day because we were doing laziness Meiri. We were doing Meiri on our Monday night pasuk, and we were doing Meiri on that was on Monday, whatever. At the beginning of the week, it's all blur of Meiris. One of the Meiris somewhere says that like you have to recognize that that God provided you with the desire to achieve the greatness and the ability to achieve the greatness and the resources.
Right. We had a similar idea by like if someone does you a favor.
Yes.
I forgot what. Maybe that was another perek.
Could be, yeah. Either way, the idea is true.
Yeah.
So if your greatness attaches to, what we were talking about just before this is like almost an intrinsic universal sense of greatness, that everything should revolve around me. But even if it attaches to a particular talent or position in society or whatever, or possession, any taking of credit to yourself is a denial of God. And that's closer to the pasuk, because the pasuk says, that's when Klal Yisrael becomes wealthy. and they attribute it to Kochi Otam Yadi Asali Asahayal Zed, and my
Right.
might and the power of my hand made me this wealth. That's taking it away from God.
Right.
I'm not exactly sure how this fits in, but I think also when a person is talking about this like being like good at something, then they make that into a thing that's like objectively valuable. And because like if you're like good at flicking ants off a tablecloth, like it's like obviously it's not like a thing to like it's obviously not like a valuable skill or so but if you're haughty about it, that means that one way or another you think this is like something that's like some sort of like good.
Right. I don't think so. Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't think that is in the realm that he's talking about here, because then you can make you can have a misunderstanding about what the good is without being kofar b'ikar. I don't think all misunderstandings of the good are being kofar b'ikar. I think when you think that your place is greater than it is in reality, or that you are the cause of your greatness in some way, like then that's the fundamental distortion. And I think I maybe this is premature to say this, but we've been in these two halachas long enough that I feel like I can bring in stuff that I remember from other people that or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not an iyun where we need to think about.
I believe like whenever we went over this with the Pesach first, I think 2003 or something like that. I think he said that, and he might have changed since then. I think he said that that's what makes these two Deios worse, is that these have to do with mistakes about the place of the self in reality, and all the other bad Deios that the Rambam talks about, or other Deios problems, have to do with the way you relate to other things.
This is how you relate to reality itself.
Yeah, which is why he talks about kofar b'ikar and avodah zarah.
Right.
Yeah.
Why did? Well, I guess we didn't get anything.
You want to see what Mr. non-Mr. Maimon guy says, Mr. Footnote guy?
It's mindful.
Kofar b'ikar, the mitzias Hashem, in God's existence. That's the great fundamentals that everything depends upon. Yeah, because a person makes himself the center of the universe and acts as though there's no God above him. And the kavod and tila can only go to God in truth. That's basically what we said. Both elements. What we said. Tehillah. Yeah. Right. That's both elements of the world revolving around you, and then attributing kavod to yourself. Yeah. Okay. Let's try to understand. I know we didn't do the b'shanta to east begasus ruach, but let's try to understand anger now. Okay. So
Wait, what does it mean be'emes?
I think because, like I said, that if you have a talent, you can have kavod for that talent, but can you really take the kavod for that? Like you wouldn't have that if it weren't for the fact that God gave it to you, and God gave you the desire, and God enabled you to have it, and all the kavod goes to God. That's like I think the way I quoted it into Tehillim is in Yashir of Ika Oga'a, and Anglo says Geusa Dilehi. Haughtiness belongs to God, or highness belongs to God. When you say you should really address a king not as your highness, but as his highness. Actually, no, that's the opposite. You should address God as his highness. Depends on what you say the possession is. Never mind. Yeah. I thought I was being clever. I was just being stupid.
Okay, that's good. Oh, God is his highness, not mine. Not your. Wait.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. So,
what are you saying when you tell a king your highness?
Your highness.
Well, I think claim styles, you're referencing them by their status, right? You're not saying you're addressing them as the highness. But what we're saying, we're using yours equivocally, because I'm saying now that yours means who is the one in whom it resides, versus the one who's the cause of it. So the highness belongs to God, but it resides in the king.
The objective highness.
Yeah.
When he's talking to a human king.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, sorry, that was a linguistic
Your highness.
editor. Yeah.
Right. But right, he's still high, but he's not totally high.
Yeah,
That's a good
only
way
God
to-
is.
Right.
Yeah.
Saying his highness is a good way to get executed.
Okay, let's go on before we get too bogged down in this. Okay, anger, right? So we've said about anger now that we really are talking about internally nothing should anger you, and it's all the stuff is about you can pretend, you know. Okay, fine. But now we get to Gimel 3. So anyone who gets angry, it's as if he worships a avodah zarah. Let's try to figure that one out.
It's saying that you feel angry.
When you
internally.
feel angry, yeah, not when you act angry.
Right. Well, when you feel angry, yeah, I'm not sure why he's saying it's like avodah zarah. I feel like it would almost make more sense to say that he's kofar b'ikr.
Right. So let's just articulate that intuition. So what is the relationship between anger and haughtiness?
So, I guess anger is when something is not the way that you would like it to be.
Yeah.
And right, how does that relate to haughtiness? Well, haughtiness is that everything.
Well, hold on a second. Let's just go a little bit more in depth into that.
Okay.
Not just that it's not the way you like it to be. That's the
That you
conditions
should be
under which.
able to make it the way you want.
Yeah. Meaning the conditions under which anger occurs are something that's not in line with your desires.
Right.
But that fact per se is not synonymous with anger. That's the conditions of it.
Yeah.
But then anger has to
It's
involve
feeling that something should be the way you want it.
because you want it.
Because you want it,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
That's not the-
Yeah. I wanted to read that thing that I tried quoting by memory last time, which I should have just done last time. Aristotle's definition of anger.
Wait, well, what if?
Yeah.
What if you want something to be the way you want it to be? Wait, what if you think something should be the way you want it to be because of something other than your desire itself?
Well, then you won't be angry about it.
Right.
You'll be like,
Desirous.
you'll be desirous, and you'll just think it should be different.
It should.
Yeah, maybe you'll be confused. Maybe you won't be angry about it. Like if let's say you like you filled out the paperwork for your taxes.
Or let's say your computer glitches
Yeah.
and everything's going blank right now, and I don't know if this is recording. Go on.
Yes. So let's say your computer like glitches and and it shouldn't be glitching.
Right.
It's like a relatively new computer. So
Which I wrote off on my taxes.
yeah.
Oh my.
So like you can feel like that shouldn't be the case.
Go on.
You feel like it shouldn't be the case that your computer is not functioning. And you want it to be functioning.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that you're angry about it.
I see.
Well, we'll see.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, if there's another reason why it isn't, and you're accepting that there.
Yeah, I was saying the anger comes from the fact that it's going against I think you want to impose your will onto reality, and then that is being frustrated.
Yeah. Can I give you? I didn't listen to any of what you were saying because I was too busy freaking out about this. But can I give you an example and you tell me if I heard what you were saying?
Okay. Yeah.
Being angry. So you said you differentiated between being angry and saying that reality should be what you want because you want it. That's the bad kind of anger.
Yeah.
But if you're angry and you feel reality should be a different way because God wants it, and
I didn't talk about
no, but I'm differentiating now.
Yeah.
I'm saying that would not be in line with the bad kind of anger. That would be like the type of anger that is not problematic for this reason. Right.
We didn't discuss that type of thing.
Right, but you're implicitly discussing it by differentiating it from. Who asked the question?
Well,
Didn't you ask- you asked the question, so
I
I'm
didn't
trying to
talk
answer your question.
Yeah, I didn't talk about any other case that
Right.
involved anger.
Right, but you were asking about 2 cases of anger, so I'm trying to answer that.
Yeah,
question.
I think that was the meaning that you want it to, like, you want something to be, and you think it should be the way you want it to be, but because you think it should be the way you want it to be because, right, let's say because God wants it.
Yeah,
Because God wants you to have this thing,
right.
and you don't have it, and you want it, then you wouldn't be angry in that situation.
Good question.
Because
Well,
you don't think, well,
Because that's slightly different than what I was saying. I was thinking the extreme simple example, like let's say you know like Eliyahu Hanavi being angry, you know.
he was just acting angry.
I think he was actually angry, right?
That's what he-
I think that's the Rambam's thing that was his bad meter.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
or not bad. I mean, high level bad meter, but but that's anger. That's like philosophical anger, is what Rambam used to call it. Which the average person can't have, because almost all people's anger is due to the fact that things are not going the way I want it to be.
Mhm.
I'm saying that if you are so much identified with Ratzon Hashem that you're like angry on his behalf,
Yeah.
that whatever that looks like, that would be like not in this category.
But that might just be the middle path of being angry when appropriate.
Right.
yeah.
But just not internally.
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm
Right,
struggling with.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
Only in action,
yeah.
not, right. And
Yeah.
here we're talking about that you would feel angry internally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here we're saying that just like we said, any internal haughtiness is kofar baker. Any internal anger is kofar baker.
Right, so how would it be different than him saying like, if you want to be Mazaris, you should.
That you're not feeling it.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
So wouldn't it be the same for like Eliyahu?
Yeah. I was using that as an example of where he, I thought he did actually get angry.
Yeah, so I guess.
Well, yeah, a person does actually get philosophically angry.
Like most of him gets angry, and he's never criticized for it except the one time that he hits the rock.
Right, because I mean, I guess I thought that was because he didn't get angry.
You thought it was just
acting angry.
outside. Yeah. So that's
the one time he didn't act angry.
that's a good question, because I don't. This might get to the heart of what makes it bad to get angry inside. Is it the fact that you're just responding to imaginary things, and that's what the avodah zarah is? Which, by the way, let me just take this step that we've been dancing around. Like, how is anger like avodah zarah?
They're getting angry at imaginary things.
Good try.
Because you feel like your feelings determine how.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. That was, again, Rebbe's definition of avodah zarah from those avodah zarah shiurim is relating to the products of your psyche as a reality.
Mhm. And that's what anger.
Wait,
That's the essence of avodah zarah.
What do you mean by as a reality?
Meaning we realize, for example, that you can have a fear of something, but like, or a fantasy about something, but the thing that the object of your fear or fantasy is not in existence. It's only internal. It's only in your mind, But if you cognitively believe that thing exists, and then you engage it through action, then that is avodah zarah.
So how is anger that?
Because how's anger that? Now you can say what you said.
I don't even remember what I said.
Because
I don't know. I just said
I didn't want to say how's anger that.
How was
How is anger that? Oh, because you said that anger is where you think that the way things are should line up with your desires.
Right.
Desires.
And then
So that means that your desires determine how things.
Right. It's a fundamental belief that my psyche can actually shape reality and determine reality.
Right.
Or it ought to.
If you
Yeah.
didn't fundamentally believe that, then you wouldn't feel angry when your psyche didn't shape reality.
Right.
Like you would just be like, okay, it's not up to me, and like.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
And this is why I'm trying to suggest that maybe this paves the way for there being a room for a philosophical anger where you are feeling it, but it's not the type of anger that's a bad dea, which is that if your emotions are in line with Ratzon Hashem, then the fact that Ratzon Hashem is not being expressed or not being fulfilled would anger you, but not from any imaginary psychological source.
And the reason we're calling that anger is because
You go grr.
The sensation of anger.
Yeah, but why?
Because you're moved to rectify it. You moved to.
But you can still be moved to change something that isn't not for anger. Like anger seems to be a very specific.
Yeah,
thing
right.
where, like things should be. Is it because like things should be a certain way and they're not? And like.
So okay, so this is okay. I'm not gonna try. I don't know why that. I don't know if it was the website that made it flip out, but I'm gonna do it on my phone just in case it messes it up again.
Maybe worth experimenting at some later point. No.
Yeah,
No,
after this year, then I'll try to do it. Aristotle Rhetoric. This is Aristotle Rhetoric, book 2, and in book 2 is where he shows you how to program emotions. It's a very good book. Yeah, that a rhetorician can. So he defines every emotion, then shows you how to push people's buttons to get that emotion. Yeah.
And making that make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. So this is what I was
Okay.
trying to quote last time. Anger may be defined as an impulse accompanied by pain to a conspicuous revenge for a conspicuous slight directed without justification toward what concerns oneself or toward what concerns one's friends. Okay, so let me read that again and then show how it connects to this. Anger may be defined as an impulse. So that's number 1. It is an impulse.
Okay.
Anger moves you. Now, not all things that move you are anger, but anger is a motion of the soul.
Okay.
Accompanied by pain. And that's what makes it negative. That's what makes it perceived as negative. Like, we don't treat happiness as a negative emotion. Why? Because it's coming by pleasure, not by pain. You know, to a conspicuous revenge, that's the subjective dimension where you feel I was wronged by reality not going the way I wanted it to, and I must act out to show it.
Rectify.
Yeah, right. To a conspicuous revenge for a conspicuous slight directed without justification towards what concerns oneself or towards what concerns one's friend.
So yeah, so I think being angry that the wrath of Hashem is not being acted out is a similar thing in that it's an impulse to rectify the way things are, but it's just not.
And it's accompanied by pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not it's not because you want it. It's because this is the best way that
Right.
it can be.
Yeah. Yeah, the way that Ryan Moskowitz used to express it is not in terms of anger. He used to express it in terms of hatred. Is he would quote the pasuk in Tehillim that we say on Kabbalah Shabbos is Ohave Hashem Sinu Ra, that those who love Hashem hate evil.
Oh, is that a Mishnah?
There's another pasuk in Mishnah that identifies
You're Hashem. Oh, something.
Yeah, there's one that's similar, but the one that I'm thinking of the one in Tehillim.
Yeah.
He was saying that only those who love Hashem can hate evil. People think that they hate like criminals or Nazis or murderers or whatever. But that hatred is a personal hatred, you know, either because the people affect them or because they hate the parts of themselves that are that have those qualities, you know, it's all tied up in the personal. But someone who's attached to Avas Hashem and sees Risha'im, who are the forces in the world that are precluding Avas Hashem from being experienced and lived in accordance with by humanity, then you'll hate evil, you know, and that's not coming from your own personal emotions. It's coming from the fact that Ratan Hashem is not being expressed in the world, you know.
So I'm saying there's 3 categories of, or we're
Whoa.
we're positing that like there's behavioral anger,
Right.
Then there's internal anger, and then there's
Kind of score is better here, right? There's
yeah.
anger that is external, anger that's internal.
Yeah.
And then there's 2 categories of internal anger. There's anger for personal reasons, anger for lishma, anger for, you know, God's reasons.
Right.
And you could have that expressed or not expressed. You know, it's like, yeah.
Right.
I don't understand this, but I understand.
Okay, yeah. You don't have to. You have to be a visual person to get it. All right, so now we understand why it's a avodah zarah, right?
Yeah.
And I think we could also explain why it's kol hakois im chacham hu chachmas mistalgas mimenu. You can't think objectively when you're angry because anger is a state of distorted reality perception. Like,
Can we just clarify why one is co-breaker and one is?
oh yeah. So we didn't fully articulate the relationship between the 2. So let me start with that and then try to answer that. Is because anger is predicated. Who gives you the right to say that things should be different because you want them to be? Only if you occupy a fundamental position in reality. The foundation of anger is haughtiness. Because if you truly weren't haughty and you realize that I am not at all an important thing in reality, so why should you expect reality to conform to your desires?
Right.
All anger is built on a fundamental assumption that the world should be in line with my will.
Right. But I feel like that just proves even more why it should be co-breaker.
Oh, well, we'll answer that now, though. I'm saying, but I was taking the step to show what the connection is between the 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah. So I think the difference. Yeah. So do you have an answer why one's kofar and one's a avodah zarah?
Well, I do just want to highlight another slight difference
Mhm.
also between the two, which is that haughtiness is usually in the social realm, whereas anger is not.
Right. You can be angry at the weather.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But haughtiness,
You can't be haughty at the weather. I mean, I guess no, you can't.
Yeah.
right? Haughty is just like I just feel like I'm better than all these people or something.
Mhm.
It's
You can have haughtiness. You can have haughtiness in regards to reality, just not with the word at. You know, like you can feel that you're above nature. That this, how can this, like when people get like sick, you know,
yeah.
like how could this happen to me? Like, well,
Wasn't that anger?
I mean, it's often both, but like,
Oh, you could not be angry and just
Well,
like let's say if you're like you feel like you can't get sick.
yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
You're not angry because you're not sick yet, but like
Yeah.
you just are.
right. That's a haughtiness that is not social. Yeah. Or people feel entitled. Entitlement is another thing that doesn't really, you know, I'm entitled to, you can be entitled to the weather, like things working out the way that I want, and that's not directed at people. Entitlement stems from anger. Yeah.
So it seems like anger is just when you're haughty, but you don't have the thing that you want, and haughtiness is the feeling you get when you have the thing that you want.
Something about that bothers me. It's not that that's not true. It's that I feel like that excludes a lot of cases.
Okay.
I don't know what they are at this moment, but the way I'm thinking right now is like, so just in terms of the martial stuff, okay? Kofar be'ikr is you are God, and avodah zara is you are venerating something other than God, right? So haughtiness is like the foundation, what we're saying, the foundation of anger, this feeling that I am the center of the universe. And then when you think, therefore, that your will determines reality, that's like acting the part of God, so to speak, you know, and that's really where the anger expresses itself. So maybe I can say venerating. That's the wrong thing. I was saying avodah zara in the sense of, well, keep ovid avodah zara. Well, okay, the ovid avodah zara though is basically like
Projecting your own.
yeah, exactly. Like, Rabbi Zucker gives the example of like how avodah zara started is the myth of Ook the caveman. You know, so Ook the caveman is this caveman, and like he realizes that like if there's no rain, then he doesn't have any food. You know, because nothing grows. So the thing is he wants to make it rain, but of course he's not going to actually like believe that he can control the rain. So instead, he imagines a being greater than himself that has all the powers that he himself doesn't have, and then he appeases that being by like giving sacrifices to it and bowing down to it, in belief that by making it happy, it'll control the rain. So it's just like one step removed in delusion world. Really, if he could, he would make himself into a god, and the raya is that that's what all the great Rishonim did. Right? That's what Paro and Nebuchadnezzar, you know. But most people are aware that they can't do that, you know. So they
just add an extra step.
They'll pledge allegiance to a god, or they'll create a god, or they'll create like superstitious practices, you know. But it really is them manipulating reality, you know. Yeah.
I don't know. This just reminded me of.
From your anthropology class?
But no.
Oh. I was gonna say that would be appropriate, but
yeah, no. But and it might obviously there are probably like the whole argument and like make a lot more sense than making it sound, but it reminds me of the ontological argument for God.
Right.
Like that, like, oh, we can imagine the greatest possible being in our mind, so therefore he must exist in the world.
I think that's right. Yeah, I think that's a misunderstanding of the ontological argument.
It might be, but it's just
I think it's a common one because I think Adler devotes a bunch of time to debunking the superficial understanding of it. I don't remember that, but I found my Adler book finally. Remember, I was trying to look for something, the Adler book about God, so we could have the thing about the names of God way back in perek, whatever that was.
Yeah.
I finally found the book. It was just behind something. So when I was thinking on my book, yeah, I'll have to try to find it.
Yeah.
I'm traded for the Rabbah book. Yeah.
So what we're saying right now is you can have haughtiness without anger, but you can't have anger without haughtiness.
You can have haughtiness. Well, here's the thing. I actually think you're going to have both in proportion, but haughtiness is the cause of the anger. Meaning they will all, anytime you have haughtiness, you will have to have anger, because if you believe that you're center of the world, then when things don't go your way, you will feel angry.
Okay.
But the anger is the cause, I'm saying. That's where the primacy lies.
The haughtiness.
Sorry, the haughtiness is the cause. Sorry, the haughtiness is the cause. Yeah.
Cause.
Yeah.
Right. The anger is not the cause. The anger is a product of the haughtiness.
Yeah.
So if you're angry, there's a given that you're haughty, and if you're haughty, then you're going to be angry.
Yeah.
I see.
Wait, but don't you still, isn't it, when you're haughty, don't you still think that reality should line up with your desires?
Yeah.
So,
That's why anger is gonna have to follow you around.
so anger only comes into play when you don't have the thing that you want.
Yes.
Okay.
Anger is reactive.
And haughtiness
Haughtiness
is always there.
Holiness is always
Proactive.
there. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
It's active.
Right.
And what we call haughtiness, like if someone who's like not angry but haughty. Wait. Alright, forget it. Yeah, forget it.
Okay. This is good.
Yeah.
So here's the plan. I do think we can move on from haughtiness. And I think tomorrow, if we endeavor to do what we often do, which is to try to review what we did, and then like post on the momentum of the review through the rest of this halacha, then we'll get to the next halacha. Meaning there's still a couple of things that I want to understand here. Like I definitely want to understand that tzaddikim thing and stuff, but we'll intend to get beyond this halacha tomorrow.
Right.
Okay, but I think we had a lot of good stuff for the overall sugya and for haughtiness and for anger, but just not done with anger. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah.
Cool.